Can we welcome in Monty Williams now? Well, I'm turning the wrong way, Coach. Hi, Coach. It's Scott Van Pelt. Monty, thank you so much for taking the time to be on with us. Congratulations. I wonder, in a moment like this, how do you properly allow yourself to enjoy a moment while still focusing on what are going to be the most important games your team will be playing coming up here in the finals?
Yeah, it's new for me for sure. I've wanted to be a part of this all of my career, and when you get into the league, you think it's easy, especially when you are a part of an organization like the Spurs, and you watch them go through deep runs, and you're a part of it different times of your career at different times. But to be a head coach in this position, it's hard to describe, Scott. I'm just grateful. And I think I'm just getting old because I really enjoyed watching our players enjoy the moment. But I'm so blessed to coach the guys that I coach, to work with the people I work with, to have a job. This kind of job is something that I don't take for granted.
Monty, when I was talking with Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson about you, it's my observation. I think you allow your guys to be your guys. Mark Jackson says they know you give a crap about them, and yet you still have to coach them. I wonder, how have you found the sweet spot of being all of the things that a man wants to be, a mentor, a leader, and a taskmaster when you have to be? How has that balance been achieved?
Well, I expressed from the time I got the job in Phoenix and every new player that comes to our program, the essence of my coaching is to serve. As a believer in Christ, that's what I'm here for. And I tell them all the time, if I get on you, I'm not calling you out, I'm calling you up. You have potential, and I have to work my tail off to help you reach that potential. And I think guys have embraced that. They understand that if I'm direct or black and white with them, it's not to make them feel bad. I want them to get paid. I want them to win. I want their families to enjoy it. And it served us well.
I'm a man of faith. I understand what you're talking about. On the floor, though, it must be nice to place belief in Chris Paul and what he brings. I imagine that engenders a certain amount of faith as well.
Yeah.
How do you best explain to me what he's given you, Monty, not just tonight where it's obvious, 41 points, but just from the moment he arrives with a young team who had never played a playoff game as a group?
Yeah. It's huge. I mean, I've told people I'm not ashamed to tell anybody that the most success I've had as a coach is with Chris. And, the conversations that we have off the floor, on the floor, it's always about winning. It's always about how to make other people better. He picks my brain. I pick his brain. I tend to follow him when he has an instinct about a certain situation. And for whatever reason, he trusts me to put him in situations where he can be successful. But he's just a great player. He's a leader. He serves his teammates. And we saw that tonight. He was dead tired, and he still was able to make play after play after play. That's his will. And I'm just happy to watch him in this moment. And we still have more work to do, but really gratifying to watch him in this moment.
Clearly. And I believe you had your headset on as I was talking to Tim Legler. He steps into a situation where you have so many young players, and I see a guy like Devin Booker, who, Monty, he's been on my show a couple of times. He's 24 years old, and he's just so put together and so impressive. And I'm not talking about as a player. That's obvious. I'm talking about as just a young guy. I leave the conversations thinking, wow, what an impressive guy. And to have this sort of coming out party on this stage, I'm sure it's not a surprise, but what do you believe he has in him in this next round?
Well, I just know how badly he wants to win. I heard about the workouts with his dad. I heard about the connection that he has with his family. What you see from Book is a product of his upbringing, his mom, his dad, his brothers, his sister. They're just a tight-knit group. And I think that transfers to the team. He's all about team. He's all about family. But he's got a killer. He's got a fearlessness about him. And he's not afraid of the moment. That's the thing I love about Book. Sometimes he'll make plays or try things on the floor that, get in my crawl, but I know his intention is to win, and he's not afraid. So that's why I love him.
With you, and I hope you and your guys enjoy all that's coming with the finals. We look forward to watching your guys play, all right?
Thank you, Scott. Have a great night.
You as well. Postseason, but Chris Paul, the old head who provides the steady hand, becomes the closeout king. Dropped 37 in the series clincher against Denver. 41 tonight, becoming the oldest player in postseason history with 35 points in consecutive closeout games in a postseason. The previous oldest, pretty nice company to be keeping, and that's a hell of a list right there. He now trumps Michael Jordan, which I know would please him to no end, the Wake Forest guy topping the Tar Heel. And once again, we welcome in Stephen A. Smith and Michael Wilbon to the show. And gentlemen, I'll begin with Chris Paul. I feel it's only appropriate. And Michael, how best to frame what it is that he provided this group? They had never been in the playoffs as constructed, and he obviously helps lead them. How do you frame what you saw from him in this evening?
Scott, I got to go back to the beginning of it when he first knew he was going to be traded, and it's know-how, it's poise, it's intellect, it's toughness, all of those things. There's so many more, but I think at least those few sort of represent all that Chris Paul is, and he really wanted to come here, meaning Phoenix, of course. And I probably shouldn't tell this story. I'm going to tell it quickly because it's an off-the-record story. If Chris gets mad at me later, I'll put some money in a little jar.
It's
But,
fine.
we're working on a project, a Chris Paul generated project, and so we're doing it on Zooms in the summer and in the early fall. And during one of the Zooms at the end, Chris says, "What are you going to do now? We're done." I go, "I don't know. I'll go out and hit some golf balls." He says, "Nah, I need a favor." I said, "What?" He goes, "Can you help me look for a house in Scottsdale?" I'm like, why would a guy who's already in LA with his family need a house in Scottsdale? And I said that, and he just pauses and he says, "Think, Mike, think." And I said, it took me a while, and I went, "Oh my God, this could happen." And what he talked about down there is the order that he talked about it. I mean, Booker, there were all those people involved, but Devin Booker was the big part. He, like the late, great Kobe Bryant, looked at Devin Booker very early on, and they each saw something that drew them. Mm-hmm. They loved everything about him. And so Chris wanted to play with Devin Booker, and he thought this could work. He thought it could work before anybody else thought it could work, other than maybe Devin. And so, but all of those things characterized the way Chris felt about coming to the Phoenix Suns at the beginning of the season.
You know, Mike Wilbon isn't the only one with an off-the-court story about Chris Paul. As you well know, Scott, Michael Wilbon, I executive produced a project, Why Not Us, with Chris Paul for ESPN Plus earlier this year. And a lot of times we found ourselves talking off the record about what he felt about Devin Booker. And let me tell you something about Chris Paul. He's not well liked by a few people in the NBA because he's an acquired taste, Scott. He's a guy that gets in your face, in your mug. He's incredibly demanding. He pulls no punches. He holds you accountable. That ain't for everybody, but here's what you need to know about him. As much as he's not liked by some people, he's loved more by others and universally respected by everyone because of his leadership ability. And so when you see him with his teammates in Phoenix and you see the way that they have this level of adulation and affection for him, what that means is they've bought in. They recognized a long time ago that this guy that is an acquired taste, if we acquire that taste, we might just be champions one day. That's the kind of talk that they were having during this season when they were one of the top two teams in the Western Conference, and it came out tonight to reach fruition. This is about the leadership of Chris Paul. A game 6, a closeout game, fresh off of Paul George dropping 41. What does he do? Does he answer with 25 points and 15 assists? No, he drops 41.
Real answer.
With 8 assists in 35 minutes with 0 turnovers. I'm sorry. It is the most special performance of his career, and it happened on the same night that this man is going to the NBA Finals for the first time in his 16-year career.
I think his greatest performance, not his best performance.
Yes, his greatest.
But his greatest performance coming here, getting them to the finals, fulfilling all of this. And he stresses over it now. Don't be misled. I mean, he wants this badly. And so for him to make this happen here, and as Booker said, I asked Booker once, what is it like now that you got to be accountable to this guy? And he smiled, and Booker said, it ain't for everybody.
Right.
And to Stephen A's
you
point,
guys,
I mean, he's a demanding dude.
And you guys both well know that whole disrespect or chip on the shoulder thing can be a played out routine. But he's fueled by those who believe that his best time was behind him. And I think he demonstrated clearly tonight what he still possesses. And now they have at least 4 more games to prove that he could be a champion, a minted champion once and for all. As always, gentlemen, your time appreciated. We'll talk again when the finals arrive, all right?
All right.
Thank you, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
I appreciate it. There's a yin to that yang. On the other side of the joy, there's the emotions of Reggie Jackson, who visited with us the other night. He is fueled by confidence and a passion for this game, and his season came to an end in Game 6.
10th year's been my best year. It was the most challenging year, the most fun year. Not sure when you're going to play. Ups and downs, guys being injured. Still finding my way in this locker room. First thing I told those guys is thank you for saving me. And I appreciate them. I appreciate every guy in that locker room. I appreciate Paul for getting on that phone last year at the end of the season when it was time to do a buyout with Detroit. I'm thankful for everything I've experienced being here. This city making me feel home. This organization welcoming me. My quirks, my strengths, my weaknesses. I'm not here today without this team. I'm not still playing without this team, so